8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Years, and I've done converged telecommunications and more recently digital financial services. I've driven a lot of policy locally in my market here, and it's exciting to see how see the evolution of the market when it comes to ICT in Africa, particularly, especially if you've traveled around over the last 5 years. You can immediately tell the level of change that each society or each market is bringing up when it comes to telecommunication. Now, you cannot talk about digital economy without talking about digital transformation. And you cannot talk about digital transformation without talking about the global economy. So just to put a bit of context around this, now, interestingly, I was supposed to be billed on as a speaker. And unfortunately, our moderator couldn't make it. And so the best part of being a speaker is when you now have to be a moderator and you have to now send your speaking notes up to use them for your moderation. So I really am hoping that I can put a bit of flesh around the conversation. And then once our speakers come and engage, we will be able to have that exciting engagement between participants and speakers, and we'll be able to pick up very important notes that can form part of our engagement with policymakers and our interest as ADF to be able to seek to change, secure, for the want of a better word, and impact African policy when it comes to telecommunications and ICT in general. So I was just saying earlier on that the world as we know it is continually changing, and one of the fundamental drivers, as we know, is digital transformation. Now, at the core of digital transformation, when we say digital transformation, we're simply talking about the use of the latest technology to do what we already do, but do better. And the global economy of which our continent remains a crucial part of is equally undergoing that interesting transformation as well. And this is happening at breakneck speed. So digital transformation, as we know, it refers to the adoption of digital technology to transform services or businesses. Now, this transformation we see it happening today across the continent, and has been largely achieved by the evolution of our society in replacing what we know to be manual, non-digital processes with digital ones, or replacing our digital technology with upgraded digital technology. So a very typical example will be in your market, and in almost every market, you see service providers supporting, with the support of government policy, are continuously advancing new networks. So you see 2G Edge being switched to 3G, being switched to 4G. More recently, we're seeing 5G trials in Africa. But let's not get comfortable, because other markets are equally testing 6G as we are talking right now. So within the context of that transformation is then we say, what is digital economy? Then we can, there's a number of definitions. One of the exciting definitions that strikes me most is the one by Deloitte that says that the digital economy is the economic activity that results from billions of everyday online connections among people, businesses, devices, data, and processes. So the backbone of the digital economy is typically the hyperconnectivity that is growing interconnectedness between our people, between organizations, even more recently between machines from the internet, and then also the mobile technology, Internet of Things, and other seemingly interconnected new technologies. And interestingly, it's taking shape and undermining conventional notion about how businesses are structured. I'm sure a couple of years back, if not for COVID, we'll probably be looking to join one another in a room to be able to have this conversation. But today, on the back of digital transformation, largely, a lot of it has been triggered by the pandemic that we're still dealing with as a continent or as a world, is dealing with it. We're getting more and more comfortable. And that's really, when we talk about digital transformation, that's a typical example of the change that has become the new normal, has completely revolutionized the way we live, we work, and then we play. So this is just a bit of context around the conversation, and I am looking forward to be able to have very, very exciting discussions with all of you on here today. So I would at this point just check with my co-host so that I don't talk too much. I'll check with my co-host there. Just to, can you hear me?
Yes, good morning. I can hear you loud and clear.
Hi, Jesu.
Good morning, Mr. Derek. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, once I get my co-host to, yeah, good. She's coming on. Good. You can share the link. We dropped the link in the chat section. Let me just drop it in the chat section again, so that everybody can see it. And so if you want somebody to participate and maybe they are struggling to join through the registration link, you can be able to share that. I just put it down there in the chat section. So you can copy and basically share with other contacts that you believe that would love to be part of this conversation. All right, Jason, you have the mic.
All right, thank you very much. You've done justice to the reason why we are here. So, okay, yeah. All right. Thank you very much, and I welcome every one of us to this webinar. I promise to be great and interesting. Mr. Derek has done majority of the work, so I will just go ahead to introduce our speakers, from our president down to each and everyone that we have speaking today. So now our president should be coming, he should join us in less than a second. And he goes by the name Mr. Olushola Teniola, who is the president of African Digital Economy Forum, and also the ex-president of ATCO, which is Association of Telecommunication Companies in Nigeria. And then we have Dr. Vincent Olatuji, who is the CEO, Data Protection Bureau, that is NDPB Nigeria. And then we have Mr. Ikechukwu Namani. He's going to be coming from, he's the new president for the Association of Telecommunications Company in Nigeria. And then we have our honorable uncle, which is Mr. Derek Laya. Yeah, and he's director for ADEF. And also we have Papa Yusufa, who is the CEO of Unique Solutions Gambia. And we have Mr. Jumaine Ajibu, that is the CEO of Serra Ventures, and it's coming from Tanzania. And we have Evelyn Lewis, who is the CEO of SBTS Group. Mrs. Adekute, who is director of SRPR, Ogun State Bureau of Information Technology. You're welcome, ma'am. And we have Mrs. Cecilia Adenusi, who is the head training and development, Linus Professional Institute. Welcome, ma'am. And also, the last we have Mr. Itunu Abidoye, who is the co-founder of Petra Africa. So you are welcome, sir. Oh.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, Jesse, for you basically called out everybody before. I'm sure some of them will show up, but that's good. Yes. I see President is on the call already. Olu, big brother, good morning.
Morning.
And it's good to see you again. I know we saw each other 2 weeks ago in Ghana.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Yeah, I would hand over the microphone to you. You have the floor. Basically, you can set the tone with an introduction on behalf of ADEF, and then we'll be able to kickstart the conversations from there. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Derek, and thanks to you all for coming this morning. Apologies for my lateness. I literally had to drop off another important client call, but such is the nature of our digital economy. Really, thank you for being here again. I would like to give you my welcoming remarks or speech, so just do bear with me. I hope you can hear me. If so, I will continue. Thank you very much. Good morning, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Derek. I will welcome you all to the Africa Digital Economy Forum webinar series, dubbed Investing in Africa's Digital Economy, Building the Future Today. Many will agree that even the richest countries in Africa are yet to reach their true potential of a digital economy that has been recorded in recent years. Let me say that in spite of the recorded progress, access to the internet remains out of reach for most people, with the penetration rate of about 22%. Only a few citizens have digital IDs or transaction accounts, locking them out of access to critical services and e-commerce. Digital startups struggle to attract funding, and traditional businesses are only slowly adopting digital technologies and platforms to boost productivity and sales. Few governments are investing strategically and systematically in developing digital infrastructure, services, skills, and entrepreneurship. To become tomorrow's innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders, we need to invest aggressively in Africa's digital economy. Governments need to find more nimble and effective means of delivering services and interacting with citizens. Businesses need to utilize digitally centered business models to connect with hundreds or millions of customers previously out of reach due to geographical space or low income. Africa has the opportunity to harness the digital economy as a driver of growth and innovation, and hence the reason behind the purpose of this non-for-profit organization, Africa Digital Economy Forum, a platform for technology and service providers focusing on the transformative powers of Africa's steadily growing and booming digital economy. ADEF for short, as a body, will engage and collaborate with various stakeholders, which includes governments, private sector, academics, national and international bodies, to promote frameworks to maximize the potential dividends of a thriving digital economy beneficial to all Africans. Kindly follow us on our various social media channels and be part of the digital economy movement for the prosperity of Africans. We are open to collaborations with organizations with deep interest in changing narratives. And this being our maiden webinar, we are very happy to have you on this call, and we look forward to further collaboration and engagement. May the discussions begin. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, President, for that very, very succinct and short introductory speech. And just to check with you, do we have our speaker on the line? And can you notify me? Okay. Okay.
Yes,
so
do.
okay.
I'll just be in your DM right away.
Okay. So I believe we should have Vincent. Vincent is here. Okay, great. So Vincent Olatunji would be basically engaging on the topic, talking about building ecosystem sustainability and investing in the digital economy. So I'd like to welcome Vincent. Vincent, you have 10 to 15 minutes to basically give an overview, and then we would move on to other speakers, and then we'll do a quick Q&A. Thank you. Hello, Vincent. Okay. Just so I don't see Vincent.
I'm so sorry. You should join us anytime soon, but we can
Okay.
call on the next speaker. Yes.
Do we have Dr. Mrs. Adekunte? Is she?
Yes, she's online. She's
okay.
with us. Yes.
Doc, welcome.
Thank you.
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mom.
Good morning. Can I? Hello.
Yes. Hello. I can hear you.
We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be on this platform this morning, and I want to appreciate the organizer of this webinar. Thank you for the invitation. The theme given to us is invest in Africa digital economy. In states, how government is investing in the last decade, important avenue for economies to develop. Not only but also development across sectors of the economy. And there are opportunities on the digital platform and fintech working around the clock, develop and introduce new products. These changes will be only those economies that embrace digitalization, those that invest in the required infrastructure and introduce commensurate regulatory technology. Advent of technology, the global community has been able to create social status with growing demands of increasing revenue or in by diversifying the economy. Governments, corporations, organizations, private entities, and individuals, they have digitalized daily activities and transactions. Efficiency, advancements, increased profitability. In the developed countries, technology has proven to be potent in the development of their various sectors, from its application into e-government, e-health, e-commerce, and particularly industrial sector. The evidence of new technology has been announced and mapped to implement the automation of industrial processes and machineries to increase the production output in meeting customers' demands and requirements. Africa has the opportunity to harness digital economy as it develops sustainable and inclusive growth and innovation to achieve the development goals through ICTs. But if it comes to harness this opportunity, its economic risk acceleration, stagnation, and increasing digital with investment in connectivity, suitable reforms, support to dialogue, and technical assistance, Africa may be able to accelerate growth models, align the digital economy to influence all sectors of the economy and society. In the year 2015, the Nigeria Communication Commission, NCC, proposed the transition of the economy into a digital economy through investment in digital infrastructure and more specifically broadband, which is a key driver of digital economic growth. The Nigerian federal government has been able to identify with the urgency in tapping into digital economy to boost the nation's economy. And this has led to the formulation of policies such as the National Digital Economy Policy and Strategy, NDPS 2020 to 2030. Leaders and Action Plan SRAP 2021 to 2024. Nigeria's ICT has been a major contributor to it, and thus questioning need to develop and invest in the need of the sector. In the last decade, the sector has seen a year-on-year increase in the number of private investment. The government investment in the deployment of satellite technology plays an important role in connecting the different parts of the country together. The NCC is even proposing the launch of a new satellite into the orbit in 2022. Investment in fiber optic technology by the government and encouragement with these incentives given to the private shows the government commitment to the development of this sector. This strides in the ICT sector of the nation has earned Nigeria and our citizens the determination to achieve feats like Nigeria's international connectivity, which is well developed with connectivity to high-speed internet via the 5 undersea international links. There is also the Gulf Information Technology Exhibition, GTEx, a global where Chiniki guys, a Nigerian ICT startup, took first place, beating about 750 from 73 countries. In the fintech industry, there are Paystars, an additional startup, which was later acquired for a sum of 200. While Flutterwave also, another engineer by Iyoluwa Aboyeji and Adeleke Adekoya in 20 raised about 170 million US dollar series seed funding. At that time, it was secured by an African tech startup and a valuation of over 1 billion. Of course, I only celebrate these success stories due to the enabling environment that has been provided by the government. And these are initiatives that are implemented to aid the citizens by giving opportunities to benefit from the prospects of digital economy, where the individual is a key player. Ogun State, under the leadership of His Excellency Prince Dapo Emir, is fast approaching the peak of attaining a digital state. Ogun State, being strategically positioned between Lagos State and Oyo, both with substantial potential for economic growth and partnership. It also shares boundary with those states and Republic of Benin. This earned the nickname Gateway State. It has a population of about 3.7 million. That's according to 2006 census. Predominantly youth, and we say that the highest number of tertiary institutions, the whole federation. Out of these are the government institutions dedicated to the information and communication technology. The University, Shapade, as Gateway, Polytechnic, IBESA. All indicators describe that can be harnessed for the benefit of the economy. However, there are a number of things to be put in place before our latent potential can drive the economy. The Ogun State government has come with series of initiatives to support the tech ecosystem. in the areas of capacity development, infrastructural development, and other tech-driven initiatives. These are ICT infrastructure initiatives, commissioning of the Ogun Tech Hub for the incubation of technology-driven innovation for startups. This was in their 2018. Infrastructure such as the recently launched Ogun Digital Economy Infrastructure Project called OGIDEP, which is to see to the laying of fiber optics across the 20 local governments in the state. The development of ICT Park with NCC, Nigeria Communication Commission, is also another one that you can mention here. And when you talk of the ICT human capital development, the Ogun State launched the Ogun Tech Hub Academy for skill development on emerging digital technologies for the benefit of the citizens of Ogun State. And I can tell you, people have been enjoying this even beyond Ogun State. People from other states are also benefiting from has also partnered with tech like Cisco Networking Academy, Business Solution Consult, as we call it, and other tech knowledge in such as Avocados, Nigeria Computer Society, in hardware and software. I will say there are different states at the tech hub, like artificial intelligence, cloud computing, data science and data analysis, web application development, cybersecurity, robotics. Most of these are being offered to prospective participants who wish to upskill and become appealing to the that can tap into these initiatives, create and develop their products by using these government facilities and programs as a nation to expand and gradually the commencement of capacity development at the tech hub. The government, through the and government officials on emerging digital skills. This development has been extended for female gender inclusion as well as minors, with a record of over 6,000 beneficiaries. The female participants take up the larger portion of 45%, while people take up about 25%, 35% for the male gender. Public-private partnership. There is the need to private entities, organizations, corporations in the affairs of ICT-related initiatives. Solutions end up being tools for business by companies. I would say Ogun State has 55 registered tech hubs as we talk. We are tech entrepreneurs, innovators, and tech entrepreneurs innovators, and developers, they meet to create, to design, and build solutions that can be infused to boost the digital economy. Moving forward, and I will conclude here. Here in Ogun State, the infrastructure is installed and being installed. The capacity and the required skills are already in place. Collaborations with private organizations and governmental support. Ideas are abound. Ogun State welcome investors to take this opportunity to invest in this fast growing digital economy. And with all this, you will all agree with me that in Ogun State here, the government is putting in effort and is investing in digital economy. Thank you very much for listening. And once again, I say good morning to everyone listening to me. God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you very much, Dr. Mrs. Dekunte. I really enjoyed your presentation. There was just a little challenge in with regards to hearing you. It appeared that you could position yourself better, but I didn't want to break your engagement. I was really elated listening to. I think you ran us through a chronology of events, specifying largely how government in Nigeria has contributed largely to the growth of the digital economy, the digital sector in Nigeria. And I think you spent quite a great amount of time on Ogun State. For somebody like me who is not a Nigerian, I want to be in Ogun State at this very moment. And I think that really from listening to you, just to try and bring a bit of context, I was excited about the fact that you highlighted some of the initiatives that has gone on in the state, in Ogun State. And I think largely it comes to listening to you, it comes to a lot more of leadership. I see a lot of leadership. I see a lot of commitment. I see a lot of willingness on the part of government, the part of stakeholders within the state to be able to drive the required kind of growth that you basically highlighted. And that's really the thrust of a bit of the conversation that we'll be having later on, because you want to have a conversation, you want to have a situation where society, or the fact that governments or every market has the drive or the willingness to be able to direct investment, because the digital economy does not evolve out of nothing. A lot of it is evolved out of the digital transformation conversation, and a lot of it is also going to require investments, hard cash, to be able to see that growth that we're talking about. Looking at, just to bring a bit of context, I was just looking at the document whilst you're talking, and this is really a paper on the African policy side of things, and it's talking about what the AU and other notable stakeholders like the UN Economic Commission for Africa, Smart Africa, the African Union Development Agency, other regional economic communities, the African Development Bank, the African Telecoms Union and Co. And it's basically highlighted a number of things that are crucial. And I just highlight this before I go on to the next speaker. It says that the African Union recognizes that Africa's digital transformation must be strengthened by a number of things, which we'll tackle later, which is harmonizing policies, legislation, and regulations. And it's saying that it's committed to implementing innovative financing models to digitally transform Africa. Now, it says that these objectives will require an estimated additional investment of $20 billion per year between 2020 and 2025 to $50 billion per year from 2026 to 2030. And I think that it just highlights the fact that you are not these are investable funds that you have to be able to direct to markets, and in directing them to markets, also recognizing that Africa is in competition with Europe, Africa is in competition with Latin America, Africa is in competition with Asia. So it's really about leadership. It's really about seeing the drive and the commitment from governments to be able to drive that kind of investment towards this side of our markets to see the kind of growth that we want to see. Just to, how are we doing with time? And then also just to find out, do we have any of our two speakers available now?
No. So we have to move on to the next agenda.
Great. So just to move on to the next agenda, we would have a.
Yes.
Okay, you are breaking. I was just going to introduce. So do we have Mr. Itunuluwa Abidoye? Do we have him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's on the line.
Okay. Then I'd just like to move to him. I'd like to have some perspectives from him in relation to the topic, and then we can be able to have other speakers speak. Then we can do a Q&A. Thank you.
Okay.
If you're there, sir.
Please, can you unmute yourself? All right.
Yes. Hello, everybody.
Great. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Hello. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning, Itu. It's great to engage with you. I just wanted your perspectives on the topic. Basically, in summary, but you can just share a bit of what you are doing currently. How are you contributing to the digital economy? And what do you think that Africa can do to be able to direct the needed kind of investments to grow that digital economy we want to see? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you really very much for, inviting me to this session to actually come and speak on particularly what I know and my thoughts and ideas around fintech, basically. So, yes, and I would also like to thank every participant here. And it's really amazing seeing you guys. And Dr. BC also made justice to all she said previously. So straight into my topic, I won't be long, and my concept, I will definitely give my concept out. So fintech here, fintech is just as you know, financial technology, and we're in the present age whereby people want to become, tech bros and techies, but it's really not just in the name, it's actually in the action. I mean, it's in what we do, it's in what we plan to propose, it's in the ideas that we are bringing forth within ourselves into life. So basically, over the years, I've worked in different fintech places, and then I've seen how things grow. Yesterday, it's really amazing that one of really nice delegates or vice presidents knows the amount of unicorns we have in Nigeria, and he mentioned I think around 6 to 7, in which we have Flutterwave, OP, Cheaper Cash is coming, Andela, and more like down the line, and hopefully there would be more unicorns, giving Nigeria a name and the statement both in the world and then in the global space. But yes, fintech is this arena whereby we have players trying to solve the matter of finance in technology, and it's actually has to do. It has a lot to do with business. It has a lot to do with how we plan to propose this technology. Now we can use this technology in different ways, in different systems, in different partners. We can pass it through different channels, but we all have to arrive at one destination. In doing that, people have gone through the route of normal, using normal coding via blockchain, which is fast rising now, which is more like a new age technology. And we've seen it really move expressly, but we still need more players in this market, because though we see that the market is much more saturated, but we need much more hands in this space. So particularly to what I do, I'm a product designer at Leatherback, and Leatherback, it's more like a multi-currency wallet system whereby a Nigerian can have much more than one account all in one place. And that's on one side. And also I'm a co-founder CEO of Petra, and Petra is a payment gateway that allows businesses, customers, individuals, practically anybody receive payments via any means, multiple means. So for multiple means, we have direct debit, we have normal via fintech apps, integration with the peer. We have the part whereby I really love to speak about is digital assets. You can receive payments via digital asset and then still convert to your local banks. And we're working on USSD and card payments. But I think I would also like to speak about the journey of that, the journey of making Petra, the journey of creating Petra. I think I remember saying something to somebody that we don't see the 2000 or the 199 startups building Paystack before Paystack. What we see is Paystack. What we see, we see Flutterwave, we see Paystack. We don't see the behind the scenes of what happens, and it's more like the behind the scenes is really long. It's really a journey, and it's really nice. One of the things I think we had as obstacles basically was first back in 2018 when I was trying to convert digital currencies to either naira or dollars at worst, to or use it to make a purchase or use it to buy something or send to somebody. I couldn't, and then I logged in mysteriously because blockchain was still new and it was practically not aware of people that, oh fine, you can actually use this to make a trade or convert it to value. But that being said, I moved on to saying, oh, this is a problem and it has to be solved. And the solution came about as regards Petra, giving people access to use digital currencies to do digital things. And it's really nice of us to also note that we are transiting into a digital age. Africa is moving into a digital community, and I love one thing that someone said, that Africa is God's best kept secret. There are potentials untapped. There are resources untold here in Africa, and this is practically not just a motivation. This is what we have. We have the population, we have the people, we have the resources, but what we need to do is practically educate ourselves properly. We have the population, yes, but how many percent are actually educated? We have the resources, yes, but how do we know what we are even mining or what we are even bringing out to actually use it to do what is right? We have the people, and the people is more like they are our greatest resources. How do we know how to train them, educate them properly, give them an environment to actually boom everything they're doing? So practically, this is to say, and this is to note that we have more like a lot to do. We have a lot to learn. We have a lot to pick up and make up to make our digital economy, because we are definitely transiting into a digital age, and everything analog would have to be transited into the digital age. So I'll have to end on this note, and thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Itu. That was a very quick, that's a very great quick summary from you. And I just had a quick question before I move on to my next speaker. I had a quick question, which for me is just a brief one, because you just highlighted, I think, a very important part of the discussion. And it's really about the whole thing about how new business models spring up due to challenges that people basically are faced with. And that for me is the kind of environment that you want to see, because it means that any problem presents an opportunity for a new business model. And that's how basically you talked about Petra's birth, or how Petra was birthed. I'm just trying to find out, how's the enabling environment like from the fintech perspective in relation to how you were able to kickstart, basically Petra was basically kickstarted. How is the enabling environment, and how what do you think? So tied to the enabling environment, there's also a question I have for you, which is how's the level of education like with regards to people's understanding of the crypto environment, and how you're able to do how basically Petra is basically meeting the new business model, how are people basically responding to that challenge as well, and how are you addressing that? Thanks.
All right, thank you very much for your question. So for the first one, regarding enabling environment. So first off, I think the issue at first was actually the environment. There was nowhere, there was practically no place. As at then, now we see people coming up, we see the likes of LaserPay, we see the likes of Solana and the rest of them doing amazing things in what they do, yes. But at the same time, I think let me tie the two questions together. There is the environmental factor, and then there is the literacy factor. It means we have to even know what to do within an environment. So it's more like, for me, I had a background in computer science and I knew what to do. And of course, I'm this person who believes in impossibilities practically. Let's build impossibility that cannot be done, and then we would understand what we can do. Yeah. So the environment was practically stiff, and it was more like, you're in Nigeria, you're young. How would you want to even scale, what you're trying to do? That's the first environmental factor, which is a mind arena. So you have to find a way to break that first. Now, moving on to the resources. The resources, environmental resources now is also a factor, because getting people to actually believe in what you do, getting people to sell or buy the vision from you, getting people to actually even do the work, that's another factor. But I think thankfully got so good. I got people, I got people to buy into the vision. I got my co-founders. They are actually even called Emmanuel by name. So God is definitely with us. Now moving on to another factor, which is the literacy factor. It means we had to learn. We had to practically learn. We have to learn, what is this thing we actually want to solve. Now, we need to know something, that whatever technology we are thinking in our head, business would always drive technology. Technology would not drive business. Now, the thing is, technology can dictate where the business would go to, but business would always be business. Business would drive technology. So we had to be, we're computer science students, and then we graduated from Bowen University, and then we know, oh, fine, we have to learn this thing. We have to learn this thing administration wise. We have to learn this thing tech wise. We have to find the balance between our lives too, because if you're not careful, you'll be lost in the process. Um, Moving on to people, how do people? What's the response like? Of course, people first glance, people don't like what you practically are given at first glance. And our theme, or more like our tagline for Petra, is called the future. So I got more like a word, more like, you have to build the future, and then bring people into it, or wait for them at the future, and then they will come into it. So regardless, people are coming into the future. So it's more like, okay, fine. Our tagline was, let's build the future down. Let's lay down the path line, the blueprint of the future we want to get to. We had the picture of the future in mind, and of course we're still going there. Now it's not the stopping end, and then we are trying to bring people. It's, sincerely speaking, it's not been easy. No vision you would have is definitely easy, of course. So you have to find a way to educate people. We are doing that via our social media pages, the Petra HQ, Twitter Spaces. I was also on Startup Couches last week with Victor Solana, and then we're speaking about this same matter. How do you make people aware? And that's much more of the issue that I'm even much more scared of, that people are not as aware as we think they are. So we have these statistics, we have this population list, we have these records, but if you give the resources to the people, how would they don't know. So we have to keep on teaching and teaching and teaching and teaching these people. So basically, that's it. We are still on that business of teaching people. Thank you.
I thank you too. I really like the fact that you were super honest with your answers. So because I do a bit of work for some fintechs, and equally even some Nigerian fintechs trying to, one of your top threes, trying to basically do work in Ghana as well. And it's interesting how in some cases, particularly for young entrepreneurs, young fintech growing global giants into global giants, like some of the players that we basically birthing today from Nigeria into different parts of Africa. And it's interesting to see how, usually the fintech model has been, you break, you repair, you break, you fix. And in some cases, you're having issues where recently we've had some bad press for some of them and all of that, just because it's not like it's intentional, but it's just because of your model of growth and the fact that you are young, there's very little barriers with regards to the changes that you can even make to the business model. Because usually it's just maybe one person and his co-founder, and immediately decisions are made quickly, and the business models are supposed to kind of like just evolve. So it's how you quickly change, basically marrying the change with the adoption can also sometimes be a problem. And I think that's a very interesting perspective that you bring to the conversation. And I really look forward to some other discussion with you into the future. Thanks very much for your inputs. All right. I have on the line also. I think we have Mr. Chumani Rajabu Tambalike. I hope I got it right. CEO of Sahara Ventures in Tanzania. Sir, good morning if you're there.
Mr. Chumani, please, can you unmute yourself?
Okay. Just, are you sure he's there?
Yes,
he's there. Yes, he's there. He's there.
Yes.
I can see his name.
Yes.
Mr. Jumani. Hello. Oh, okay. I can see he's texted right now too. He said, "I'm here." Sir, can you unmute yourself? I think you're muted. We'd love to hear. We'd love to get some insights from. I've done Ghana, Nigeria for too long. I want to go to Tanzania. So please. I'd love to go to Tanzania. So if you don't mind, he says he can't unmute himself. Oh wow, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. Is that something you can you go out and come back in, please? Can you go out and come back in?
No, you shouldn't go out. You should hold on. The technical team should work on that. So probably we'll just do that from our hand. So she just hold on a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any of our speakers on the call as well? Quite a number of
yes,
people.
We have another speaker on call. We have Mr. Mike.
Okay, Mr. Mike Mushi. He's an internet entrepreneur. Yes, founder of Jamil Media, also from Tanzania. Hi, Mr. Mushi. Are you there?
Hey, yes, I'm here. How are you?
Great, my brother. Good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you too.
Super. Good morning, and thanks for joining the conversation. I don't know how long you've been around, but basically, considering the theme, we've been talking about the digital economy and how we can be able to basically invest into the digital economy, grow the digital economy, and build into that future that we seek to see. Doing that today. Maybe just a bit of, I love just a bit of some insights from you, what you do, how you're contributing to the digital economy, and what you think in relation to the theme as to how Africa can be able to basically compete because we are in competition with different markets. And I thought that would be great to have some perspectives from you as well. Thanks. You have the mic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a very interesting discussion. I think personally, when it comes to digital economy, my focus has been how do we contextualize the overall world agenda to meet our country's respective realities. And I think what we are missing in the overall digital agenda is the contextualization of what digital agenda means to ourselves, to our people. In regards to where the world is, in regards to what digital economy means in the world, what does it mean to people of Tanzania? And what's the level of understanding and how do we start from there? And we cannot, and I think with countries like Tanzania, which I would say there's been, for the last 15 years, there's been heavily investment by government on digital infrastructure and also policies. Maybe this don't make a lot of headlines, but our fiber optic cable that links every part of Tanzania is owned and managed by government. Our policies on where, about connectivity and access to mobile technology and internet to rural areas, it's a government initiative. Our policies where telecommunication companies should share infrastructure. Interoperability is a policy governed by our central bank, whereas the central bank owns a switch now that connects all mobile money with banks. So that's a switch on by government. So that is to lower the burden, give entry to everybody to access this platform. So, and the overall digitization by the government in terms of revenue collection, we pay in Tanzania traffic offense by mobile money. Strictly that. There's no paper. So, and I think the interest with the government has seen in revenue collection because they can see their money live. They can see their money right there and then. that has been what has enabled them to massively digitize everything within government. So there are steps that are being taken. Our data is cheap in Tanzania, I would say, but many African countries, it's only 6 countries with the cheapest data in the world. They say that, so many reports. So there's been this investment, but how are we then coping with the literacy level of our people to access now all the information that is available? How are we connecting the digital economy with the actual economy of the people? So I think these are steps, but how do you contextualize? How are we seeing our countries where they are, and how are we starting with the basic amenities that then enable a digital economy, and how are we pushing our governments to do so, so as well? So I would say Tanzania is a very good case study in regards to that. Note that it has a lot of startups to show around that area, but I think when you look overall in terms of government investment into digitization, there's pretty much a very big investment that has been done last 15 years, and has been done to date on the Barrow agenda. First, by just digitizing the whole of government operation, and especially on the revenue side. So yes, how are we contextualizing our digital economy agenda of the world to meet each country's respectively positioning, and then let's grasp few things that we can then what are the quick wins, and then how we building enablers for people to actually be part of this economy. So that's a few things I would say.
I have a question for you, Mike, but thanks very much for that summary. I like where you started from, and the fact that you kind of like you talked about basically how our markets, or basically how our governments contextualizing the digital economy for their people. So that's a very fantastic point for me, because it kind of like, it simply seems to suggest that it's not just about the digital economy, because what might apply maybe in Argentina today when it comes to the digital economy is not what might apply to Tanzania. So how do governments look at the different legs of the conversation, and how do they basically focus on specific areas of the digital economy that makes sense to their market, and then they basically can prioritize to get the full benefits of that. So that for me, I think it's a very summary point that I really, really appreciated. I only have one question for you before I go on to another speaker, and that question will be that you talked about the digital infrastructure, you talked about a bit of the policies, and yes, I agree with you, because in almost every market, central banks own the switch, or else I'll print money at night. But just the other question about digital infrastructure. I was in Tanzania maybe 2 months ago. Very beautiful country. That was my first time. I really enjoyed it out there. And I had this very common phrase that you shared, and it's basically almost everything is owned by the government when it comes to the digital infrastructure. But I wanted to find out from you, is that a disincentive from where you sit? And how does, because central governments by virtue of design are not too nimble in how they disperse funds and how they focus with regards to expanding the infrastructure, the digital infrastructure, as compared to if it's just an enabling environment with existing policies that basically drives the capex and the capital expenditure and the infrastructure drive that we want to see. So do you think it's a positive or a negative where central government of Tanzania, or the central government basically owns almost all the digital infrastructure? Or do you think that it would be better if maybe there's maybe a new policy that basically sees a lot more private, let's say private enterprises basically now come into the market and do the investment themselves? Thanks.
Well, I think what is happening is that where there have been private players in the same area, but it has made it expensive for people to. It then makes the service expensive. So the government is just there to say that, you know what, this is a platform. It's available for everybody to plug in and do what you want. But previously, there's been private players who were in there, but they made the service expensive. And yeah, I think if you ask me, I would say that if a government is not invested in an area, they'll never have good policies for that area. So as a private sector, you should be very happy if you see a government has actually put money on an industry. You're sure that at least they have a bit of understanding of that industry. If the government hasn't put any money in any industry, I would say the business guy, forget it. There's really no incentive for you to be there because it's not part of their focus area anyway. So this has been a move, by the way, by private players instead of the government to do it on their behalf. But the incentive of the government is very clear. It doesn't want mobile money to be a business. It wants that to be a service, where then every business should be built on top of that. So this just makes it easier for me tomorrow, if I'm doing merchant business, just to get one place where I get connection with all the banks and all the MNOs. Previously, I had to get contracts with every mobile operator, with every bank. Now you have a switch. You build up on top of that. So these are just basic first mile infrastructure. There's middle mile, there's last mile. This will always be covered up by private businesses. So if the government is doing the last mile, the first mile fiber, middle mile and last mile will always be by private sector. But if a private sector then builds the first mile, all these costs will then be carried forward to the last consumer. So core infrastructure, I would say, it should be built up by the government. I mean, right now, today in the US, shipping is easy because Amazon has built up on top of USPS. That's government. It has made shipping and online e-commerce very possible. So these are core level infrastructure that should always be the government anyway, because then businesses can then do middle and last mile delivery.
Thank you very much, Mike. I really, really appreciated those insights. And it's also interesting. I just got to hear from you that traffic offenses are paid with mobile money. Well, Jermaine.
Yeah, so can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly clear.
Yeah, so first, I really wish to hear what Mike had to say. I just got to listen to him at the end of.
I hope you didn't tell me anything that's untrue, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but it's really, Jermaine, it's the same question for you. Yeah, same question for you.
Yeah. So to me, I think, first of all, building upon what Mike has said, in Tanzanian context, basically, when you talk about digital economy, I'll start from where Mike has said it has to revolve around the people, and it has to be grassroots related. We have to bridge the digital divide. It has to be inclusive. It has to move from the walls of discussion of all the economic forum and big platforms and to try to bring it to actually make sense to people at the completely grassroots level. So how do we ensure inclusion, transparency and accountability, but as well as increasing efficient processes in education, in health, using the digital platform? I think if we are able to do that, then we'll be sure heading somewhere. But I'll take a step back and look at a bigger picture. Some of you might have read the report by Google and IFC on the Africa internet economy and the potential of the economy by 2030. And it has highlighted countries like Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, and Kenya on how they're able to capitalize on it and what they can do. But I think what is crucial is to look at a bigger picture at Africa, the continent, on how we can be able to capitalize the digital economy. But also we need to unpack the digital economy, because If you look right now, you have things like the internet economy. You have a lot of early stage businesses that are selling their products online. You have the sharing economy. A lot of young people are being employed by the likes of Uber and Bolt, specifically in urban Africa. And then you have these like high-end skills, developers and technicians and engineers, the works that Gebea and Mandela is doing in Nigeria, those kind of platforms. So I think what should be important from a government perspective, the first thing is to define the national level strategy or the blueprint. Like, what do they want to get out of the blue economy? I mean, out of the digital economy? What are their priorities? Which pillars they want to focus in, and how are they going to reach the intended result? And I think the first pillar, you talked about it already, the digital infrastructure. We cannot run away from investing in the digital infrastructure. Also concur with Mike that the first the government itself. By the government, then initiate an incentive for those partners to actually move. So the other thing is on the talent, and this is talent for the digital economy. If you look at places like Nigeria, specifically Lagos and Nairobi, you've been doing a lot of good work with these alternative schooling platforms that creates engineers and developers and the likes. But the rest of Africa, still, the gap is too huge, especially in grooming talent that can actually, one way or the other, help us capitalize on the digital economy. So that should be one of the agenda. Like, how do we groom and create talent that is going to help accelerate Africa's effort towards digital economy? I think the other thing which is very, very important, that government can be directly related and can direct influence is on policies and regulations. I know in Tanzania right now they're working on a draft digital economy blueprint document. There are some discussion around the national ICT sandbox to onboard new innovation and create conducive environment for startups. There are discussions around national innovation framework, how to promote grassroots innovation ecosystems. So discussions like this and issues like this are very, very important, because they're actually creating that platform for these things to happen. We all know, and you said it already, the central banks, they're sitting in a pole position to accelerate the overall growth of these sectors through fintechs and startup and stuff like that. So policies and regulation is another pillar that I feel, if we are serious about capitalizing on the digital economy as an African continent, then we need to have leaders who are smart creatives, who are open to new ideas, who are open to technical conversation, but also they have a business acumen to understand that to accelerate economy, then you need to have an open conversation between public and private sector. So I really feel investment in infrastructure, investment in talents, creating conducive legal and regulatory environment, strategic partnerships, policies around movement of talents between countries and opening up our borders, it can be the only way to unlock the potential of the digital economy in the continent. So I'll stop there for now.
Thanks a lot, Jermaine. You went a step beyond Mike to bring in more context to there. I really love some of the examples from Tanzania, and I think for me, some of the notes I took was the fact that you also kind of like you took off from where Mike kind of like left off, beyond the contextualization, to basically define or design the national level strategy, and basically saying to the same point about how do you want the digital economy to work for your environment. And then you also talk about grooming talents and ensuring that creating the right kind of talents that can be able to support the kind of national strategies that we want from the digital economy. And then also finally, I think the point about governments today developing digital economic blueprint policy documents. From Ghana, we're currently I've started a couple of engagements that basically are seeking to also come up with a digital economy. We call it a digital economy policy document, because a lot of the existing policies have been outdated. We have our national telecom policy dated back as late as 2005. And in some instances, we attempt to use that same policy. Sorry, I'm hearing voices.
It's me again. If I can flag something out, let's be also very careful for this document not just to be documents, because initially we passed this stage of just having documents that are not being adapted or used. And I'm very scared of that. So we need also to find a way to make these documents alive and practical and give us the intended results. So if we can make them more objective, with clear performance indicators and ways to evaluate our progress, it will be very important, because there's a lot of policies around 4IR and digital economy in Africa right now.
Yep. No, you're right. I completely agree with you. That we need to have digital economic or digital economy policies or policies that basically address specific issues. For me, I don't even think it should be more than 20 pages, because if you want to sell something in a minute, you can be able to sell it right. So for me, I'm looking at specific objectives that can drive the transformation agenda that we want to see. So typical things or typical issues like providing universal and affordable access to secure and stable broadband connection, possibly manufacturing on the continent, having a maximum retail prices for devices, offering online e-skills, development programs to provide basic knowledge and skills, let's say digital environmental security and privacy, and stuff like that. I think that these kind of specific objectives is what the continent wants to see. So if we are able to define basically the economic strategy in such a way that it's just dealing with specific things or specific, have a situation where the policy has been set, but the policy has been copied. The policy has been copied from a different market, and then you have a lot of people within the country that the policy is supposed to basically imbibe, and they don't even understand, or they don't appreciate the issues that are within the policy. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I really, really, really appreciate your insights and your input on that particular point, because for me, a number of things. So if you look at even I've been reading a bit of the AU transformation strategy for Africa, and it's based on 5 foundational pillars: enabling environment. That's one of the things I continuously say, because you cannot have an environment that is not ready for change. So the Ogun State example, I love the fact that it keeps coming up, because it means that there's an enabling environment and there's also leadership that supports the policies that are coming up. So there's an enabling environment, there's a policy and the regulation side of things, then there's a digital infrastructure, then there's digital skills and human capacity, and then we also have digital innovation and entrepreneurship. So these are like from the AU perspective. This is like a broad document, a huge document that I've been doing some reading from. It kind of like it zones down to these 5 foundational pillars for digital transformation in Africa. And I think it's important for us in ADEP that if you have some of these webinars, looking at some of the notes I have taken, I think that it's really important that we basically are able to pick up the right kind of information from granular detail of this kind, and be able to resend them back and feed them back into some of these high-level discussions that would happen in the long term, and see how they can be able to benefit our continent in the long run. So thanks for those insights, Jumin. I really, really, really appreciate it. I think I have another speaker ready. Hold on, let me just check who I have. Okay. Let me just confirm. Okay. I have Cecilia Adenusi, who is a lead instructor with Linus Professional Institute. Cecilia, if you're there, yes, I can see you. I don't know if you're there, right? If you're available right now, I'd just love to have your summary thoughts as well. We'd like to be wrapping up from this point, and then we can open up for some Q&A. Cecilia, hello. Okay. Good.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
Yes, I can
Yes,
hear you
sir.
loud and clear. How are you?
Okay. Very well, sir. Thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Thank you very much. I'd love to have you a
And
thoughtful conversation.
joining this conversation too, I've also learned about so many things about people that have been speaking since, the doctor, the physicists, and what the likes that they have been speaking since. So thank you so much. Okay. Then greetings from where I work, Linus Professional Institute in Nigeria, Master Athlete. So I'll just quickly brief us on what we do there. We have, am I communicating, sir?
Yes, I can hear you clear and loud.
We can hear you as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So
just to check
let me just share my own view. Let me just share my own on how we've been able to contribute in our own little portion, because Linus Professional Institute is a private sector where we have, what we do first is we have a workspace. We create an enabling environment. We have what we call an innovation workspace where a startup business owners come to register in our workspace. So instead of having to stress themselves about internet, stressing themselves about electricity, they just come, they register with us, and they focus on their homework, which I think is helping them in some extent. The feedback we've been hearing so far has been very helpful. They've been productive in their businesses and in their operations, which is also good. The state where I am at the moment too, so we also encourage them to do something like that for community, for their citizens, which will also help create an enable environment for a startup to be able to do one or two things instead of them having to bother about workspace, office, and all the likes, the internet, and especially the power in Nigeria. So if there is a place where they can actually exploit themselves in that area, I think it's going to increase the productivity of the startup or any other thing. Okay, thank you so much. So let me now go into what we need to invest in. Before I go to what we need to invest in, there are some things that need to be put in place, like the hardware that we need. Most of this organization, because I move around a lot because we are working on something at the moment, automation analysis, being able to help companies to be able to know their business growth, to be able to forecast, help them to monitor them in achieving their goal. So I move around. I discovered that most of these organizations, they don't have the facility, the digital infrastructure that's actually needed in the form of an hardware, a good laptop, and especially in the government starters, they don't actually have. I understand them because most of them have been employed. They've been in the sector since maybe over 20 years, 30 years, 25 years, that there's no much infrastructure at that time. So that's why the government needs to come in, which we are also trying to talk to them to, that their staff need to be trained. We are talking about digital economy. Who are the people that will use this digital economy when they don't even know about it? Some of them that even have it, they just use it to watch movies and all the likes in their own offices. But if they are not trained on how to use it, then there's no way they can be productive in that area. So, and one thing I discovered that people find it to actually switch from the analog way to the digital. See, they always complain, okay, we love the way we do our things and we enjoy it. But that's why one of the reasons for this kind of webinar, to let them know, okay, there's a better way. When you automate your operation, you get a better result, which we are also trying to evangelize here too. Okay, then in terms of a software too, there are so many software that have actually been developed. Instead of having to consult a developer to develop something for you to help your businesses to automate, there are so many no-code ones. There are so many no-code ones that they can actually make use of. Think of a country like Nigeria that you don't have to buy. We have so many Prometheus software and we have open source software. Even the Prometheus software has actually been cracked in some extent. I'm not preaching crack here, understand me. So they've actually made that in some extent that most organizations can actually make use of, which we are also trying to open their eyes into it. Okay, so the hardware they need to get, the software that needs to be used to be able to help them to digitalize their operations in their organization, and then in training people too need to be trained on what to use and how to go about using them. Then when we have all those things in place, we can now think of, okay, now let's automate, let's know what they do, then let's help them to be able to automate, because that's what we are here for. We go out and, okay, what do you do in an organization? Let's help you to automate in such a way that you can be more productive and make more sales at the end of the day. Okay. So most organizational schools too, there are technologies that have already been built. Like there's one I'm exploring at the moment, a Wolfram technology. Schools can make use of it. There are online simulation lab, which you can use to simulate mix. Most schools cannot avoid to buy so many chemicals. They don't even have the lab. But there's a technology in place that they can actually use to test what they're actually teaching the students in school, for them to be able to see and understand it, in as much they cannot avoid all the equipment that is actually needed. So school can make use of, industry also can make use of those technologies, companies and startups too, and individuals too. Okay, so when all the operations are being automated, then we can now proceed into then investing in what we call AI, which is artificial intelligence. What do you do at the moment? Let's convert it into an automation, then we produce more results. So how do we transform this analog system that we have, especially the one we have around us here, into the digital? Most of these factories, a lot of people, especially some startups, operate on cloud, have what we call, make use of some cloud coding platform, make use of some cloud applications to be able to use, instead of having to have your factory and all the likes. Then some shops too, most of them, instead of investing money in all those street shops, they can have a website telling us what you do, sell what you need to sell, instead of having to save the cost of all the rest. Then the advertisement too, because when you don't advertise, the complaint cannot grow. How will the complaint go? Invest in the advertisement. Enough of newspaper. How many people read newspaper these days? Invest in social media adverts. The Google is there, the YouTube is there, which we are actually telling them to, okay, invest in this one, put your product online. If you are doing anything and you are not online, you have nowhere to be found. So put it online, then let the people know. Another thing I will talk about is in the delivery and the transportation. In the delivery and the transportation, there are so many people that write books. Put your book on Amazon. It's sells faster than you going to a publisher, produce so many books at the same time, produce so many books. 3 or 4 people or millions of people can buy your books. So make it available, the e-copies, instead of leaving it in the bookshops around. So make the copies available. Then some organizations too, I discovered that, like the government power stars, I discovered they are still collecting like cash. Bank transfers actually make cashless policy actually make things easy. Make use of all these payments gateway to be able to make some payments, which we are actually encouraging the I'm in Oyo State at the moment, which we are actually working with the ICT department of the Oyo State to be able to automate all the operations in the state. Okay, then there's another thing for schools too. There are so many, thank God for COVID, that actually open people's eyes, especially in Africa, to using all these e-learning platform online that actually opening, which I will advise and encourage school to still stick with it. Don't back us for me because there's no COVID. Again, nobody know what is coming. I'm not saying anything is coming, but nobody actually know what is coming. But let's stick to it. Introduce students to all this online platform where they can actually learn so many things too. Okay, then instead of constructing so many company websites, is just there. Have your branches, have your products, every other thing you want to. Then the cashless possibility. Then instead of employing so many laborers that is going to consume money, invest in AI. AI is beautiful. The robotics is there. Drone is there for farm to be able to make use of. It's going to be more effective. It's going to be more faster, and you will have better results, which is the future now in technology. AI will help you to be able to promote your economy and make it better, and be able to monitor the growth of the organization too. I think on that spot, I will just stop and listen to what we have to say. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. I thought suddenly I was in a lecture hall. I was really enjoying. I was enjoying your breakdown of a number of things. I like the fact that you even ended on artificial intelligence and tied to Internet of Things and the benefits. But it's important you highlighted a bit of what you do and the fact that you exist to basically support businesses your bread and butter is basically bringing value to automate processes for businesses who are basically stuck on with old models. And I think that that's the beauty of really the digital transformation we want to see. It's not just about digitally transforming people, but equally digitally transforming organizations and small businesses particularly, because it's very easy for multinational organizations or organizations with bigger footprints in different markets. It's very easy for them to adopt. Maybe if it's a typical company like MTN, one morning we woke up one morning somewhere late last year, we heard, oh, MTN is now a digital company, or is now a digital business. And so suddenly we're changing our logo, and then immediately you see changes happening right from South Africa through Iran and Afghanistan. Everybody is changing their logo. So it's easier. But for small businesses, it's even more tougher. And for small fintechs, young entrepreneurs running their own small businesses, it's important that your existence is very crucial to support capacity. First of all, supporting capacity, supporting understanding, and then supporting that ability for them to be able to, beyond their nimbleness, be able to also appreciate change and be able to fit into the existing environments where they find themselves. Because you could be an entrepreneur, it could be a small business, you could be building for customers that do not exist, but that means that you're waiting to also make sales in the future. And you could be a company that is more understanding to the present needs of society or the present needs of the markets where you find yourself. So you're basically developing and building products or services that can be bought right now as you also kind of like evolve into the future. So I think that I really, really appreciated that summary, and I really am excited that you could join the conversation and share those insights. Thank you very much. At this point, I'm just going to basically move into the Q&A. Just so, if you don't mind, I want you to enable the screen share for me. I'll wrap up with that in my closure. But at this point, just want to open up for a quick Q&A. We want to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. So if anybody has a question, you could probably just even either you notify me in the chat section, and I'll probably maybe recognize you so that it's a bit more orderly than everybody opening their mics, if that's fine. But just a bit of a summary and context. So this webinar series was basically organized by ADEF, and I think that it's been a good initiative, a good start to a series of a number of webinars that we seek to do. In fact, we have one more this month, sorry. That will be somewhere late part of June. I think we're looking at the 23rd of June with the title African Entertainment Industry in the Digital Economy. We'll be looking to bring on some very interesting speakers as well to see how we can tap into a bigger conversation. I see we have somebody's hand. Samuel Saint IEC. Samuel, you have the microphone.
Okay, thank you so much. If you look at how technology is driving the world of economies to a pedestal where revenue generation has been so significant, Africa, in terms of digital technology, is lagging behind. There is a report from one of the international organizations, I think UNDP or something of that sort. The report states that Africa is losing about $270 billion due to inadequate and inefficient digitalized system. And these systems that we are talking about ought to be pushed by the government, the various governments or the various sectors of the economy. And these sectors of the economy is being pushed by the government. Now, if you look at government's commitment to a digitalized systems, it is very low as compared to other countries. With ADEF, or the coming on board of ADEF, what are some of the strategic initiatives you are going to profile to governments to help able to tap into this huge investment? Because the digitalized space is an investment on its own. So what is ADEF bringing on board to ensure that the various sectors of the economy, the governments, the various governments in Africa, they'll be able to tap into this kind of opportunity to be able to accrue money to develop their various sectors of the economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, if anybody else has a question, please, you can notify me in the chat section. Thanks for your question, Samuel. Maybe just first of all, so that I don't become a chatterbox, I would point you to the ADEF website. There's a bit more summary on what we do and what we seek to do. But in terms of brief summaries, I think that the introduction of ADEF, and from where I sit in Ghana, based on the discussions that we have, is that we are seeking to be able to harmonize a lot more better than we are currently doing. As you heard, I think listening to some of our brothers in Tanzania and also listening to some of our folks in Nigeria, you realize that every country seems to be doing something. But the question really is, at which level are we harmonizing these discussions? So one of the critical areas where I was excited when we have some of the executive level discussions is the conversation about even we're going to basically have in place a ministerial committee where we would have each of the ministers within the continent have priority discussions as to what they are doing and how can they harmonize better. Because if you listen to the conversations that we've even had this morning, there's a lot of the conversations around contextualizing the discussions and how do we basically position each market to be market ready. Aside being market ready, also priority around the market as to what the existing challenges or needs are, and how do we use the digital economy to basically address those specific needs. And it could differ from even the country next to your border. So it's important that one of the things that others are seeking to do is how do we basically have these wide discussions. Some of these webinars are also, like I said earlier on, are to pick granular detail. And some of the granular detail is what basically will form part of our advocacy notes to make inputs to some of the bodies that we are already engaging and we are already kind of like connected and affiliated to. So interestingly, we are not even out there in your faces at this point, because a lot of the work has been backdoor. A lot of it is basically trying to put in a bit more structure so that when you finally get out there, it's like there's already a full structure in place with a composite level of positioning across different countries within the continent. And then there is better context, and then your inputs are more grounded and can be able to see to make the kind of change that you want to see. But fair point. Some of the examples that you share and some of the money and the physical supply of funds ready to be invested in these markets are very crucial. And I shared a bit of what the African strategy even looks like, the 20 billion to 50 billion per year investment into the continent. So it's really a question of how do we position the market, make the market ready. But it's not even, I don't even want to take it like it's ADEF that is going to drive just that change. It's a conversation between ADEF and other sister organizations, other seemingly similar bodies, and basically ensuring that we are focused on making sure that we can be able to bring in the right kind of change, because I think the whole conversation is being focused and knowing exactly what we want to be able to achieve. So I really appreciate that question, and that's something that we really love to engage further on if you are good with it. Thanks. Okay, I have a question which is directed at Mrs. Solade Fortune. I think that somebody quoted her. She says, how well has the manufacturing sector diversified fully into the use of digital enablement, considering the need for it being a largely dominated sector for consumers? I don't know if she's still here. Mrs. Fortune. Hello.
Hello.
Good. Somebody has a question for you. I was just reading it. I can take it again. So the question was that while you were speaking, I think that
no, the question isn't for me, but we're trying to get back to the speaker. I'm not sure she's still on the call.
Okay. So I thought it was her that was talking to.
No. Yes.
Okay, Jesse, that's fine. If we don't have her yet, any other person has a question? Any other person has a question? Okay, I don't see any hands. I see a friend here. David, how are you, boss? Okay. I know we wanted to make this snappy. We don't want to drag it beyond a certain time. So I'll be bringing this to a closure right now. This is our first webinar. We're seeking to do a lot more. And I think, like I said earlier on, we have one for the 24th of June or so. I'll confirm. I think that will definitely confirm, because if you have your emails, 23rd of June, with a topic African entertainment industry in the digital economy as well. I'm sure we'll be able to get some very good speakers that would drive the kind of conversation that we want to see and get some practical insights. Somebody has a question. I have is it Bilal? Bilal Turi says that, unfortunately, I can't speak at the moment. He says that he's okay. My question stems from something the Estonian president has said, that digitalization is about society and people and not technology. That's something I agree with. So his question is, how is the continent bringing its people with this digital agenda, given the penetration gap? That's a question. I don't know who it's for, but maybe just my little summary on that question or that point as well. It's a very strong point you make. And this whole conversation about digitalization is not really about technology, because if it's technology, right now you can always bring technology from anywhere, or basically just come and pull technology from India and come and throw it on your people in Ghana or in Nigeria or anywhere in the continent. But it's really a question of being able to use the technology to address a gap, and basically having the right kind of skills and capacity for your people to be able to adapt to the technology that you're seeking to bring, or the transformation, the digital transformation plans and projects that you seek to bring to your people. So I think you already answered the question before you even came up with the question. So it's really a question of government's understanding. And that was a point that has been shared from our brothers, even our brothers from Tanzania, the whole point about contextualizing and being able to make sure that at the national level, the strategy is clear as to what we want to use the transformation agenda to tackle, because they are priority areas, and you don't want to have a situation where you're going all over the place before you now come to what exactly solves the digital issues or needs of your people. So I think that should settle it. I have another question from Kehinde that says that it was for Mr. Itu. I don't know if Itu is still on the call, but the questions are
still on the call.
Yes.
What are the challenges? I have a question that says, what are the challenges to the achievement of digital financial inclusion as needed for a digital economy in Africa? What are the challenges to the achievement of digital financial inclusion as needed for a digital economy? It's not too clear for me, but if you get it, please, you can shoot it. Thankfully, I'm not the one who's directed that, so I can swear.
Okay, so it says here that what are the challenges to the achievement of digital financial inclusion as needed for a digital economy in Africa, basically. So the challenges to the achievement, practically, I would say we've actually gotten a number of achievements down the line. I mean, thanks to Flutterwave and the likes, thanks to OP, thanks to Cheaper Cash, and it's more like, so how can each and every of that achievement, how is he more like how can he drive inclusion? How is he seen as a challenge? Yeah, if I get your question right, Kende. Hello, Kende, is Kende here?
Please, Kende, please, can you unmute yourself? She's still on the call. Miss Kende. I think we should just continue with answering. She's probably having a network glitch, so she can't hear you. But you can just continue. Yeah.
All right. So practically, so one of the challenges I see is, for example, when you see the achievements that people have practically laid out here, so it gives you this setback that, oh, okay, so what can I if people are achieving this much, what can I do? Number one, how can I also come in place in this space? For example, one One issue I would say, one challenge I would say is number one, the market is getting oversaturated in the finance market, in the digital financial space, fintech practically. So people are not, they are not seeing the actual issue practically. They are seeing what we've told them, just like the story with media, yeah. So it's more like it's getting saturated. And presently, now I was speaking with an investor, I think just yesterday night, and he was giving more like a declaration as to how a global recession is coming, and then people are trying to they put out their funds. They are trying to pull out from the fintech space. So they are trying to look into other sectors, health, agriculture, much more than like not specifically fintech now, since it's more like financial inclusion. Why? Because people are beginning to see that, oh, different matters regarding finance are coming up, and then the space is already getting to be oversaturated. And once the market is oversaturated, investors begin to pull out, and they're like, oh, fine, let's have more of a merger. For example, there was a merger, I think it was yesterday or day for yesterday, between JTP buying a UK firm. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, that's never been done before. That's more like a change in narrative, yeah. So the issue with that is more like people will begin to see more like you have so many options, you have so many choices. So why can't I just stay with one that helps me move money from one point to another, and then just, you know, if they want to make any change or upgrade, just add it to this or allow these guys buy buy much more. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. I like the angle where you took it. Like I said, the question was not too clear for me as well. There's another one. I think I see Taiwo says there has been a lot of concentration of fintech. On fintech being the epicenter for digital inclusion. What are the process and steps to put in place to create better involvement and engagement of the other sectors? Speaking of other lucrative sectors that are still analog.
Okay, yes. Okay, I think the question,
you can take a minute or two on that. Yes, you can take a minute or two on that. Then we can wrap up. Thanks.
Yes, all right. Okay, I think now this is much more clearer. Just like I said earlier, when finance becomes more oversaturated, when the market becomes too much, like people are any small maybe idea you have is tending towards the finance sector, people would tend to not see the need. People would tend to not see the use again, because why? The market is becoming oversaturated. Just like I said, it's already even happening now. This challenge is happening now. People are beginning to look at different sectors. We have Tribe Agri trying to maintain and then initialize the way things are done in the agri sector. And they raised, I think, I know they raised a fund of around $58 million or so, thereabout. So it's more like people begin to look at other sectors. People begin to look at other ways whereby they can put in their money. So people begin to look at other creative ideas away from the finance space. So it's more like putting pressure on what we have now, putting pressure on the existing system, and not paying attention to the next, more like, how would I put it now, the future part of what we would see. So they will be like, what we have now is enough. It's just about how you guys can integrate, with each other, how you guys can picture another view, another situation, and then you just basically just go into it. So it's more like another situation for them to find out, oh, so the other sectors can be looked into. So it's a challenge in a way, but in every problem there is always a big solution. So it's much more in the line of bringing up how the agricultural sector can be much more lucrative in tech, how health sector can be much more lucrative in tech, bringing up different ideas within that area. So if we really think about it really well, it's not only finance that we can use to make a statement in the world, really. We can also do the same thing we've done in finance, because we've actually made a bit of success in finance. If you look at it, Africa has really done that really well. And then we can push it into health sector, we can push it into agricultural sector. And I know Nigeria, we have a real big landmass for that. So if you put in this energy and the same energy we put in finance in other sectors, we would be leading the world in no time. Seriously. So it's a challenge, yes, but it's a proposition of a solution.
Thank you very much. I think that's the last line for me answers the question in summary. It's a challenge, but it offers a solution, because and I think it's also a question of need. So you can see the way digital financial services basically has changed the way we basically move money and basically engage with trade and all of that. So I think that it's really a question of, and the question really would be, what's happening to e-health, what's happening to e-agriculture, what's happening to
Exactly.
what's happening to all of those other stuff, and I
Why are
think
they
that
not
it's a
coming
question,
up?
why are they not coming up? So it's a question of need, and I know that at some point, if we begin to see and I think it also makes the point that where do we now as a continent focus our drive, or where do we basically contextualize the conversation where we want to see new businesses spring up, in which area are we focusing the funding? So if it is digital financial services, that's still a wave that is still growing. You want to basically look a bit around that, maybe direct a bit more resources towards that. You look at e-agriculture, you look at e-health, and then you basically know, even either as a government or basically leaders or wherever you find yourself within which market, whoever is directing funding, you're able to understand where the funding should go. Because if you throw money into an area where there's no drive, you basically have a lax, and there'll be pots of money, but there'll be no change. And
Can I drop an idea?
Sure, you can.
Yeah. So say for example, before I started Petra, there was this idea we had, more like we named it Rentwise, and it was just us thinking, well, really it's around real estate sector. So using blockchain to actually decentralize houses in Lagos, Nigeria, basically. And I spoke to then Edo State Economic Board chairman, and he said this would actually really work. But while we were moving on the project, and the goal was majorly to make smart houses their landlords via blockchain. So it means aligning housing structure in Nigeria, Lagos being the smallest. So we can start with that. For example, Eco Atlantic is still a real case to actually start up like the test case. Yeah, start up the test case. So while doing that, we had an obstacle saying, oh, since land is so much in Lagos and this idea is really beautiful, using blockchain to sort out all our housing problems and housing order. And then they were like, there was more like the obstacle of man. So there is somebody you have to meet to, get a policy, get a document, get a fee of, get this and this and that. And the obstacle was just like, oh, we might not be able to move forward. So he also dictates the person embarking on whatever challenge, whatever project. For example, you can use blockchain to situate anything, any idea. You can input it in any idea, be it health, be it law, be it. If you give me 20 minutes, I'm an idealist and more like a futurist. I can think of ideas within the spur of seconds. Basically, ideas will come up. But it also tells on the personality. Are we ready to also do the work? Are we ready to also move forward? Are we ready to push through the obstacles? And basically, that's more like an idea we can put out in that space, that we also should be ready to bring forth these ideas and allow ourselves to be marketable and very, very futuristically thinking in that line, basically.
Thank you very much, Itu. I like the fact that you said you're an idealist. Don't worry. I think we should have our own session where we could do this for like an hour. So we can speak, because I think there's a lot that I would love to be able to discuss with you. But I'm sure right now, I think I've outrun my time. I didn't want to do almost up to 2 hours, so I'll be wrapping up right now. But first of all, just to say thanks to everyone for making the time. I see some people have already informed us of their exit, but that's okay. We just have to make sure that we wrap this up right now. I think it's been exciting. I know I have a team at the back that we will basically put together some notes that will basically share some of the summary points that we picked up from this discussion. And I think that it's been really, really informative and exciting, picking up insights from Nigeria and Tanzania particularly. And really for us as ADIF, I think that this is a lot more what we want to be able to do and see, because I think that it informs a lot of our understanding, appreciating what different markets are doing in the seeming connects and the disconnects between different markets, and how we can be able to tap into lessons from around our sister countries, so that we can be able to do what they're doing that works for us, or what we think that we can also do that they can also pick up from us, and basically and create that pool of information and knowledge for people to be able to tap into. That we as ADEF can also equally help support our drive to inform policy and drive change across the continent, as we seek to do. In wrapping this up, I just wanted to basically just share a picture. And this is a picture I've kept for a long time, but I usually love to use it to tell what digital transformation really is, as we explain it. So I would just throw a picture in wrapping this up, I'll show you a picture. I've kept this image for about a decade. So let me see. Okay. Okay, great. Let me just share my desktop. If you see anything that is not part of the conversation, don't worry, avoid it. So this is a picture. This is a picture of Pope Benedict. For those of you who don't know Pope Benedict, in 2005, there was an election of a pope that occurred at the papal, what they call the papal conclave, following the death of Pope John Paul II. And basically, these are everyday humans that come and stand there and wait for the announcement of the Pope. So you can see, if I don't know if you can see my mouse, but if you look down in the corner, if everybody could just look down to the corner to the right, you see one guy was holding some mobile phone in the corner there. And then somewhere in the middle, I think some guy was also looking at something like a screen device. So this was in 2005. Then subsequently, in 2013, that is 8 years after this incident or this gathering, there was a similar gathering like this at the same conclave, and this was on the ballot that was closed for the selection of the new Pope Francis, and this was in 2013. And I'll just show you an image of what 2013 looked like. And this is like 9 years. It's about 9 years ago. So it basically, I don't know if it doesn't tell you anything, at least it could just say for a fact what the digital transformation looks like. And I know if there should be another pope that if there's the same at the same spot, seeing the difference. If there should be something like that today, I'm sure you see people with 4 phones in their hands. And that's really the transformation that we are talking about. And it's a whole conversation about how we are positioned to have in our hands that little object or that little tool in our hands that has greater computing power than the power that sent Neil Armstrong to the moon a number of decades back. So it's really important that we have these conversations. And as at ADEF, we're looking to see how we can be able to bring context, we can be able to bring value, and we can be able to bring a lot more data to the conversation and see how we can be able to grow the continent and make the continent digital economy ready and more beneficial to our people and our families. Thank you very much. And if there's no other comments, I'd like to wrap up. Jesu, any other information before we close?
Not much. Yeah, I think we are good to go.
Okay. All right then. Then thanks everybody for your time. This has been very, very useful, and we seek to continue this conversation at another time. Stay in touch, and we'll email all of you. Bye.
Doesn't